Have you ever wondered if we are truly living in the final hours of the world as we know it? Are the signs around us pointing towards an inevitable collapse? Or is it simply the noise of everyday life? The truth is, the world has always been in a state of change. But in recent years, those changes seem more urgent, more pronounced, and more impossible to ignore. From the unpredictable shifts in the climate to the turbulent political landscapes, to the rapid acceleration of technology, it's hard to escape the feeling that we are on the brink of something monumental. But what are these signs? And more importantly, how should we interpret them? Just think about the world around you. The frequency of natural disasters has increased. Hurricanes, wildfires, floods, and earthquakes are becoming more intense and more devastating. Scientists have been warning us for years about climate change, and yet it seems like the consequences are already unfolding before our eyes. Could this be a sign? Or is it simply the inevitable result of the choices humanity has made over the last few centuries? Beyond the environment, look at the political world. Global tensions seem to rise daily. Countries are edging closer to conflict. Alliances are fraying, and it feels like the sense of unity that once existed among nations is dissolving. We witness protests and civil unrest in places where stability once thrived. Is this chaos a symbol of the end times, or just a reflection of human nature in times of stress? And then there's the ever-changing landscape of technology. We are more connected than ever before, yet there's a deep sense of disconnect between us. People are more isolated, more anxious, and more unsure of the future. Social media floods us with an overwhelming amount of information, often leaving us feeling lost and unsure of what to believe. Some claim that artificial intelligence and automation will replace us, rendering the human workforce obsolete. Are these technological advancements heralding the dawn of a new era, or are they leading us down a path of destruction? In the midst of all this uncertainty, one might wonder, how should we prepare? Can we even prepare for something as unfathomable as the end of the world? What if this isn't about a literal apocalypse, but rather a new phase in human history? The signs we see in the world today may not be obvious or easy to read. But the question remains, how do we interpret them? More importantly, how do we react? These questions are not just theoretical musings. They are real, and the answers are critical, not only for our survival, but for the legacy we leave behind. In this time of great change, it's more important than ever to understand what's happening around us and how we can adapt. The final hour may not be a distant event waiting to happen. It could be happening right now. And we may already be living in the midst of it. The world as we know it has always been in flux. But in the current era, it feels as though change is no longer something gradual. It's sudden, unpredictable, and undeniably powerful. We are living through a time where the signs of significant transformation are all around us. But we are often too absorbed in our daily lives to recognize them. These transformations, some alarming, others seemingly inevitable, may very well be pointing towards a larger, more profound shift in the way we experience life. But what does it mean? How do we interpret these signs, especially when they seem to come from forces beyond our control? To begin understanding the end times, we must first look at the global environment. The signs are visible in the growing number of natural disasters we are witnessing. The past few decades have seen a remarkable increase in hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, and floods, many of which are reaching record levels. These disasters have devastated entire communities, economies, and ecosystems. Some of the most harrowing images of the 21st century include people stranded in floodwaters, entire cities reduced to ash after forest fires, and coastal areas ravaged by rising sea levels. One could argue that these events are simply the result of natural cycles, part of Earth's own geological processes. However, scientific consensus tells us otherwise. Climate change, driven largely by human activities, is accelerating the frequency and severity of these events. Global temperatures are rising at an unprecedented rate, and this is contributing to everything from stronger storms to longer, more intense droughts. What we are witnessing is not just a series of isolated incidents, but part of a larger pattern that is undeniably tied to the impact humanity has had on the environment. This is where we must confront a stark truth: the climate is changing, and there is no going back. Some argue that the world is simply experiencing the inevitable consequences of industrialization and unchecked consumption. In a sense, we are reaping what we have sown. But is this a sign of the end, or simply the inevitable result of human progress and development? As we continue to push the boundaries of our technological and economic ambitions, we are discovering that these forces, while bringing us unprecedented growth, are also bringing us closer to irreversible damage. Take, for example, the state of the world's oceans. Rising sea levels are eroding coastlines and displacing millions of people. Entire nations are being threatened by the rising tide. The island nation of the Maldives, for example, is projected to be underwater within a few decades if current trends continue. As these communities face the prospect of losing their homes, their culture, and their livelihoods, it becomes evident that the effects of climate change are no longer theoretical, they are immediate, palpable, and profoundly unsettling. But it's not just natural disasters that are raising alarms. Environmental degradation is also contributing to a loss of biodiversity at an alarming rate. Species that have existed for millions of years are disappearing faster than we can record them. The Amazon rainforest, often referred to as the lungs of the earth, is being decimated by illegal logging, agriculture, and deforestation. As these vital ecosystems disappear, so too does the balance that sustains life on our planet. The loss of biodiversity is not just a problem for conservationists, it's a sign of a much deeper crisis that could affect the very fabric of life on Earth. These changes in our environment are not isolated to one region or country. They are a global phenomenon, affecting every corner of the planet. The signs are everywhere, from the scorching heat waves in Europe to the destructive wildfires in Australia. From the melting glaciers in the Arctic to the intense storms battering the Caribbean. All of these events are part of a broader narrative, one that cannot be ignored any longer. The Earth is sending us a clear message: we are on a dangerous path, and we must change course before it's too late. The question we must ask ourselves is, how do we respond to this urgent call for change? Are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, or can we find a way to alter our trajectory? The signs are clear, and they demand our attention. But more than just recognizing the problem, we must also consider the solution. How can we mitigate the damage we have already done? And how can we prevent further destruction in the future? While environmental changes are undeniably one of the most pressing signs of the end times, they are not the only indication that the world is in the midst of a profound transformation. Another powerful and disturbing sign is the increasing instability in the political and social spheres across the globe. Throughout history, periods of great political and social upheaval have often been accompanied by the collapse of empires, revolutions, and the disintegration of long-standing systems. Today, we are seeing similar patterns emerge. As old power structures are challenged, nations turn inward, and alliances that once held strong are now under increasing strain. To understand the full scope of this instability, it's important to look at some of the key global events that have shaped the current political landscape. Over the past decade, we have witnessed a sharp rise in populist movements around the world. These movements, often fueled by frustration with the status quo and fears of globalization, have disrupted established political norms. Leaders who once represented unity and compromise now find themselves facing extreme polarization within their own countries. From the Brexit referendum in the United Kingdom to the rise of nationalist movements in Hungary, Poland, and the United States, we are witnessing a shift away from international cooperation and towards nationalism and isolationism. This growing fragmentation is not limited to the political sphere. It extends to social movements, where divisions are becoming more pronounced. In countries across the world, protests are erupting in response to everything from income inequality to police brutality to the erosion of democratic rights. The sense of unity that once held societies together seems to be unraveling. Leaving behind a fragmented and polarized populace, people are no longer willing to tolerate the same injustices and are increasingly demanding change, even if it means disrupting the very systems that have governed their societies for generations. Perhaps one of the most alarming aspects of this political instability is the way in which trust in traditional institutions has been eroded. In many countries, political leaders, media outlets, and even religious organizations are losing credibility in the eyes of the public. Scandals, corruption, and the increasing prevalence of misinformation have created a climate of distrust, making it more difficult for citizens to come together and work towards common goals. The very foundations of democratic societies are being shaken, and the results are unpredictable. Will we see the rise of more authoritarian regimes? Or will this period of instability give way to something new, something perhaps even more dangerous? At the heart of these political changes lies a growing sense of uncertainty. In the past, nations could rely on established alliances and international institutions to manage global affairs and maintain peace. Today, however, even the most trusted alliances are fraying at the edges. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which has long served as the backbone of European and North American security, is increasingly under scrutiny. The United States, under the leadership of President Donald Trump and his successors, has moved away from its traditional role as the global leader and defender of democratic values, retreating from international agreements and organizations. Meanwhile, countries like China and Russia are asserting themselves more aggressively, challenging the global order and increasing tensions in regions such as the South China Sea and Eastern Europe. These shifts in global power dynamics have significant implications for the future. If the world's leading powers continue to withdraw from international cooperation, what does that mean for the future of global security? Are we headed towards a world of regional conflicts, where nations pursue their own interests at the expense of global stability? Or are we seeing the beginning of a new world order, one where global cooperation and diplomacy are replaced by nationalistic and isolationist policies? At the same time, we cannot ignore the growing inequalities within nations themselves, as the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. So too does the sense of frustration and resentment among those who feel left behind. Economic inequality, combined with the rapid pace of technological change, has created a situation where large segments of the population feel disconnected from the benefits of modern society. Job automation, artificial intelligence, and the outsourcing of labor have left many workers feeling vulnerable and uncertain about their futures. These economic pressures are fueling political unrest, as citizens demand a more equitable distribution of wealth and resources. The rise of populist leaders and movements is, in many ways, a direct response to these economic and social pressures. The message they convey is simple: the traditional political elites have failed to deliver for the average person. And it's time for a change. But this change often comes with a dark side. Populist leaders frequently employ divisive rhetoric, scapegoating minorities, immigrants, and outsiders as the cause of society's problems. In doing so, they stoke fear and resentment, further polarizing the public and making it more difficult to find common ground. This form of politics, while offering short-term solutions to some problems, may ultimately sow the seeds of long-term instability. The growing political and social instability we are witnessing today is not merely a series of isolated events. It is part of a larger pattern, a reflection of the shifting power dynamics in a rapidly changing world. The signs are clear: the world is becoming increasingly divided, and the systems that once held societies together are under attack. Whether this is a temporary phase or the beginning of a more permanent shift remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the world is changing, and the way we interpret these changes will determine our future. As we grapple with environmental and political instability, there is yet another dimension to the changes we are witnessing: the rapid evolution of technology. While technological advancement has undoubtedly brought about remarkable progress in fields ranging from medicine to communication, it has also introduced unprecedented levels of uncertainty. This new era of rapid technological change is reshaping our world in ways that were once unimaginable. And while it offers incredible potential for innovation and improvement, it also brings with it a host of challenges that we must be prepared to face. The rise of artificial intelligence, AI, and automation is perhaps the most striking and controversial aspect of the current technological revolution. What was once the stuff of science fiction is now a reality. From self-driving cars to AI-powered diagnostic tools, the potential applications of artificial intelligence are vast. However, as these technologies become more integrated into our lives, they also raise profound questions about the future of work, privacy, and even human identity. On the one hand, AI and automation have the potential to greatly enhance our productivity and improve the quality of life. For example, AI can analyze vast amounts of data in real time, helping doctors diagnose diseases more accurately, or allowing businesses to optimize their operations for maximum efficiency. In the future, self-driving cars may reduce traffic accidents and make transportation more accessible to those who are unable to drive. These advances hold great promise for making the world a safer, more efficient, and more connected place. However, there are significant downsides to this technological revolution. One of the most pressing concerns is the displacement of human workers by machines. As automation continues to advance, more and more jobs, especially those in industries like manufacturing, transportation, and customer service, are at risk of being replaced by robots or AI systems. According to estimates from the World Economic Forum, up to 85 million jobs could be displaced by automation by 2025. And many of these jobs are held by workers with limited access to retraining or new job opportunities. This could lead to widespread economic disruption, as millions of people struggle to adapt to a rapidly changing labor market. The rise of automation also raises questions about income inequality. While some workers will thrive in the new economy, those with the skills to work alongside AI and advanced technologies, many others will be left behind. As the demand for low-skilled workers declines and the demand for high-skilled workers increases, the gap between the rich and the poor will only widen. This could exacerbate existing social divisions and contribute to the growing sense of frustration and disillusionment that we are already seeing in many parts of the world. Beyond the economic implications, the rise of AI and automation also brings with it a host of ethical and philosophical questions. As machines become more intelligent and capable, what happens to the value of human labor? How do we reconcile the benefits of technological advancement with the potential risks to our livelihoods and our sense of purpose? Will we be able to create a world where technology serves humanity? Or will we be overwhelmed by it? Another area where technology is having a profound impact is in the realm of privacy and surveillance. In the past, people lived relatively anonymous lives, with their personal information protected by physical barriers like locked doors and private spaces. Today, however, our lives are increasingly conducted online, where our every move, from shopping habits to social interactions, is tracked, analyzed, and stored by companies, governments, and other entities. This vast digital footprint has made privacy a rare commodity. In some countries, governments have deployed sophisticated surveillance systems that can monitor the movements of entire populations, often without their knowledge or consent. This constant surveillance raises serious questions about our right to privacy and freedom. Are we willing to trade our personal freedoms for the promise of safety and convenience? In a world where technology allows governments and corporations to monitor us at all times, where do we draw the line between security and personal liberty? The erosion of privacy, coupled with the rise of big data and AI, has made it increasingly difficult to escape the prying eyes of those in power. In this new age of technological uncertainty, the very nature of what it means to be human is being challenged. Yet, it's not just our privacy that is at stake. The rise of AI and automation also has the potential to fundamentally change the way we interact with each other. Social media platforms, for example, have created a world where we are more connected than ever, but also more isolated. We are bombarded with an endless stream of information, much of it curated by algorithms designed to keep us engaged. While these platforms offer unprecedented opportunities for communication and self-expression, they have also been shown to contribute to mental health issues, such as anxiety and depression, especially among young people. The very technologies that are supposed to bring us closer together are also contributing to a sense of alienation and disconnection. The advent of AI also raises profound questions about the future of human identity. As machines become more capable of performing tasks that were once the sole domain of humans, we must ask ourselves, what makes us human? Is it our ability to think, to create, to feel, or is it something more? As AI systems continue to evolve, there is a growing fear that humanity will lose its uniqueness, that we will be replaced by machines that can do everything we can do, only better. In the face of these challenges, one thing is clear: we are entering an era of profound uncertainty, one in which the line between human and machine, between privacy and surveillance, and between progress and peril, is becoming increasingly blurred. The signs of this transformation are all around us, and we must begin to ask ourselves how we will navigate this new world. While technological and social disruptions are significant drivers of change in our world, it is essential to address another pressing aspect of the end times narrative, the shifts occurring within the global economy. The financial landscape that once seemed stable and predictable has been undergoing rapid transformations in recent years. And these shifts are creating both opportunities and challenges for nations, businesses, and individuals alike. As we move forward, it is crucial to understand the forces at play and how they will shape the future of our world. One of the most significant shifts is the growing shift toward global economic power centers. For much of the 20th century, the United States and Western Europe were the dominant forces driving the global economy. However, the 21st century has seen a dramatic rise in the economic power of nations in Asia, particularly China and India. These two countries have emerged as global economic powerhouses, with China now boasting the second largest economy in the world and India projected to overtake many Western nations in terms of GDP growth in the coming years. The rise of China, in particular, has been a game changer in the global economic landscape. Over the past few decades, China has become an industrial powerhouse, transforming from a largely agrarian economy into the manufacturing and export hub of the world. China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) has further solidified its role as a global economic leader by investing in infrastructure projects across Asia, Europe, Africa, and beyond. As China expands its influence globally, it challenges the dominance of Western nations and presents new opportunities for trade and investment. However, this economic shift has not come without its challenges. The rise of China, in particular, has sparked tensions with other global powers, most notably the United States. The trade war between the two nations, which began in 2018, is one example of how this economic rivalry is playing out on the global stage. Tariffs, sanctions, and other trade barriers have disrupted global supply chains and created uncertainty for businesses and investors alike. As China's economic influence grows, questions arise about the future of Western-dominated financial systems and the impact of this power shift on global stability. At the same time, the rise of emerging markets has led to increased competition for resources and investment. As countries like India, Brazil, and Southeast Asian nations continue to develop, they are increasingly vying for the same resources and investment capital that were once dominated by the West. This growing competition has the potential to create new alliances and rivalries. As nations pursue their own interests and seek to secure their place in the global economy, the result is a more fragmented and unpredictable economic landscape, where businesses must navigate shifting power dynamics and ever-changing market conditions. The global economic shift is not limited to emerging markets. However, in many developed countries, particularly in Europe and North America, there are signs of stagnation and decline. The aging population in many Western nations, combined with the increasing automation of industries, has created a situation where economic growth is becoming harder to achieve. At the same time, rising income inequality and the erosion of the middle class are contributing to social unrest and political polarization. In many cases, this economic stagnation has led to a rise in populism, as people demand change and a redistribution of wealth. The challenges faced by developed nations are compounded by the growing complexity of the global financial system. In the past, countries could rely on traditional financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank to provide stability and oversight. However, in recent years, these institutions have been increasingly criticized for their inability to adapt to the changing global landscape. The global financial crisis of 2008, followed by the Eurozone debt crisis, exposed the vulnerabilities in the financial system and raised questions about the sustainability of global capitalism. The rise of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology has further complicated the economic landscape. Bitcoin and other digital currencies have the potential to disrupt traditional financial systems by providing an alternative to central banks and national currencies. While cryptocurrencies are still in their infancy, their growing popularity has raised concerns among governments and financial institutions about the future of global monetary policy. The decentralized nature of these digital currencies could undermine the power of central banks and destabilize the global financial system, potentially contributing to a new era of economic volatility and uncertainty. Another critical factor influencing the global economy is the ongoing climate crisis. As mentioned earlier, the impact of climate change on the environment has already begun to reshape industries and economies around the world. Rising sea levels, more frequent and severe natural disasters, and disruptions to agriculture and food production are all taking a toll on global economies. The financial costs of these events are staggering, with countries facing billions of dollars in damages and lost productivity. As climate change continues to accelerate, it is likely that economic instability will become more prevalent, particularly in regions that are most vulnerable to its effects. The transition to a green economy, which aims to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainable development, presents both challenges and opportunities. While the shift to renewable energy and sustainable practices has the potential to create new industries and jobs, it also requires significant investment and adaptation. For businesses, this means navigating new regulations, rethinking supply chains, and investing in sustainable technologies. For governments, it means finding ways to balance economic growth with environmental responsibility, all while addressing the needs of a rapidly changing global population. In conclusion, the global economic shifts we are witnessing today are not just a passing trend, but a fundamental reordering of the world's financial landscape. The rise of emerging markets, the challenges facing developed nations, and the increasing impact of climate change all point to a future that is uncertain, unpredictable, and fraught with challenges. As businesses and individuals, it is crucial that we recognize these changes and adapt accordingly. The ability to navigate this new economic order will determine our success in the coming decades and shape the future of our world. As we continue to examine the multiple facets of the changes taking place in the world, it is essential to consider the psychological and societal shifts that are unfolding in the wake of this unprecedented era of uncertainty. While technological, economic, and environmental changes are reshaping our world, the human psyche is being transformed as well. These shifts in our collective consciousness are shaping the way we view ourselves, our relationships with others, and the future of humanity. The constant stream of information that we encounter through digital platforms and media has led to a phenomenon known as information overload. People are now bombarded with news and opinions from all corners of the globe. Often in real time, social media platforms, in particular, have amplified this effect, creating an environment where it's difficult to discern fact from fiction and where individuals are exposed to a never-ending cycle of information that can overwhelm the mind. As a result, many people feel disconnected, anxious, and uncertain about the world around them. In the past, information was more filtered and curated by trusted sources such as newspapers, television, or academic institutions. Today, however, anyone with an internet connection can create and distribute content, leading to a democratization of information but also to the spread of misinformation and conspiracy theories. The proliferation of fake news, particularly on social media, has contributed to a growing sense of distrust in traditional institutions and experts. This has led to increased polarization, as people seek out information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs and are less likely to engage with perspectives that challenge their views. This rise in misinformation and division is not just a problem for society at large, it has profound implications for mental health. The constant barrage of conflicting information can create a sense of confusion and instability, leaving individuals feeling helpless and disillusioned. Research has shown that social media use, in particular, is linked to higher levels of anxiety and depression, especially among younger generations. The pressure to present a perfect, curated version of one's life online can create feelings of inadequacy and isolation, leading to further mental health issues. In addition to the psychological toll of constant information consumption, there is also the growing impact of economic uncertainty on individuals' well-being. As previously discussed, the global economy is undergoing dramatic changes, and many people are experiencing financial insecurity as a result. Job displacement due to automation, the rise of the gig economy, and the increasing cost of living are contributing to a sense of economic instability that many individuals find difficult to cope with. For some, this economic insecurity leads to stress, anxiety, and a sense of powerlessness. For others, it fosters a feeling of disconnection from the world around them, as they struggle to make ends meet and to plan for a future that feels increasingly uncertain. The rise of mental health issues in this context is not just an individual problem but a societal one. As more and more people experience anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges, there is a growing need for support systems to address these issues. Unfortunately, many societies have been slow to recognize the importance of mental health, and access to mental health services remains limited in many parts of the world. This lack of support further exacerbates the challenges individuals face in coping with the changes happening around them. Moreover, these psychological shifts are contributing to larger societal changes. As people grapple with the pressures of a rapidly changing world, we are seeing a rise in what some sociologists have called tribalism. In an age where information is abundant and perspectives are more fragmented than ever before, individuals are increasingly aligning themselves with groups that share their views, creating echo chambers where dissenting opinions are rejected. This tribalism can lead to increased social division and conflict, as people become more entrenched in their beliefs and less willing to engage with others who think differently. The rise of populism around the world is one of the most visible manifestations of this tribalism. Populist movements, which often appeal to people who feel left behind by globalization and technological change, have gained traction in many countries. These movements are characterized by a rejection of traditional elites, a focus on national identity, and a desire to restore a sense of control over one's own destiny. While populism can be a powerful force for political change, it also has the potential to deepen social divisions and undermine democratic institutions. In the context of business, this societal shift has profound implications as well. Companies must be attuned to the growing social tensions and the need for inclusivity and diversity in both their internal culture and their external branding. Consumer behavior is changing, and people are increasingly seeking out brands that align with their values. Companies that fail to adapt to these shifts risk losing their relevance in the market. Furthermore, the rise of social media has empowered individuals to hold companies accountable for their actions, leading to increased pressure on businesses to operate transparently and ethically. However, there is also a silver lining in these societal and psychological shifts. As people become more aware of the challenges they face, there is a growing movement towards self-improvement, mindfulness, and collective action. In many parts of the world, individuals and communities are coming together to address mental health issues, combat misinformation, and create more resilient societies. Social movements advocating for sustainability, inclusivity, and mental health awareness are gaining traction, signaling a shift toward more compassionate and empathetic approaches to societal problems. In the business world, the shift towards social responsibility is also creating new opportunities for innovation. Companies that prioritize sustainability, employee well-being, and ethical practices are seeing increased loyalty from consumers and employees alike. The rise of socially conscious businesses and the growing demand for corporate responsibility suggests that there is a growing recognition that the well-being of individuals and society as a whole is intertwined with the success of businesses. At a broader level, these societal shifts are encouraging a rethinking of what constitutes success in the modern world. In the past, success was often measured in terms of wealth and material possessions. Today, however, more people are defining success in terms of personal fulfillment, mental health, and social impact. As a result, there is a growing focus on finding balance in life, building meaningful connections, and contributing to the greater good. Ultimately, the psychological and societal shifts we are experiencing are a reflection of the profound changes occurring in the world today. While these shifts present significant challenges, they also offer opportunities for growth, innovation, and connection. By embracing these changes and adapting to the new realities of the world, we can create a future that is more resilient, compassionate, and sustainable as we draw our journey through the end times to a close. It's important to pause and reflect on what we've uncovered. Throughout this story, we've examined the rapid changes unfolding in our world, technological, economic, environmental, and societal shifts that, taken together, paint a picture of unprecedented transformation. These changes bring about both challenges and opportunities, and how we respond to them will define the future we create. But despite the overwhelming nature of these changes, one truth remains clear: the end of one era often gives birth to the beginning of another. While we may be living in times of uncertainty, where the old systems are breaking down and new ones have not yet fully emerged, This moment also offers us a chance to redefine what is truly important. We are at a crossroads, facing a choice between despair and hope, between inaction and resilience, between fear and the courage to forge a new path forward. In the face of these challenges, the key to navigating the end times is not to surrender to fear but to embrace adaptability and growth. History has shown us that humanity has always been capable of extraordinary resilience. From the devastation of war to the challenges of economic collapse, human ingenuity and spirit have prevailed time and again. What we face now, though daunting, is simply another chapter in that ongoing story. The question is not whether we will face difficulties, but how we will respond to them. The rise of new technologies, the shifts in global power, the environmental crises we confront, and the psychological shifts in society are all part of the same equation. These are not signs of inevitable doom, but rather opportunities for reinvention. Every disruption can be seen as a chance for new ideas to take root, for innovation to flourish, and for individuals and societies to rise to the occasion. The future is not set in stone, it is a living, breathing entity that we, together, can shape. For businesses, this means embracing change rather than fearing it. Those that remain stagnant in the face of economic uncertainty and technological disruption will find themselves left behind. But for those willing to innovate, adapt, and take risks, the future holds immense promise. The companies that will succeed are those that understand the need to pivot, to adopt new technologies, and to rethink their role in the broader world. More than ever, businesses need to recognize their responsibility not just to shareholders but to employees, customers, and the planet. The future of business lies in sustainability, ethics, and inclusivity, and those who embrace these values will be the leaders of tomorrow. On a personal level, we are all faced with a similar challenge. The rapid changes around us can make us feel small and powerless. But we must remember that we have the ability to adapt, learn, and grow. The key to surviving and thriving in the end times is not to focus on what is falling apart, but to focus on what we can build. By embracing new skills, staying open to new perspectives, and cultivating resilience, we can not only survive the changes but use them as opportunities to transform our lives for the better. One of the most important lessons from history is that times of crisis often spark the greatest leaps forward. It is in the face of adversity that innovation thrives, that new leaders emerge, and that societies reimagine their futures. The great challenges of our time, the climate crisis, economic inequality, political instability, and mental health issues, are not insurmountable. They are, in fact, the catalyst for the next great wave of progress. By confronting these issues head-on, we can build a future that is not only sustainable but also more equitable, compassionate, and resilient. However, none of this will happen without action. We must be willing to step into the unknown, to challenge the status quo, and to take the necessary steps to create the future we want. This begins with individual action, but it must extend to collective efforts. We must work together, across borders and cultures, to address the global challenges we face. No single person, organization, or nation can tackle these problems alone, but together, we can make a profound difference. As we stand on the precipice of this new era, we must remember that the story of humanity is one of growth, evolution, and perseverance. The end times are not an end at all, they are a beginning. The world we are creating, through our actions, decisions, and innovations, will be a reflection of our values and vision. Will we build a world based on fear and division, or will we build one based on hope, unity, and sustainability? The choice is ours. It always has been, and it is through our choices that we will shape the world of tomorrow. In conclusion, the end times are not the end, they are a turning point. They represent a moment of profound change, but also a moment of opportunity. It is up to each of us to decide how we respond to the challenges and disruptions that lie ahead. Will we let them defeat us, or will we rise to the occasion and build a better future? As you reflect on what we've discussed, I encourage you to take action in your own life, whether in your personal journey, your business, or your community. Now is the time to prepare for the changes that are coming and to seize the opportunities that lie within them. Together, we can navigate the challenges of the end times and create a future that is brighter, more resilient, and more hopeful than ever before.